Hi everyone, good morning and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We'll take all the articles, we'll simplify them, and in the detailed discussion, we are going to take them. Now, before starting, I would like to tell you that if you are new here, you can download the synoptic notes. In this synoptic notes, we have given the explainer PDF of all the articles that have come in the today's newspaper. These synoptic notes are available at the Telegram channel, and the link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box in YouTube. Moreover, you can visit the Telegram and can search there by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil, and you will get the access of these notes. Now, before starting up guys, we will take the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can actually understand that which articles are important in the today's newspaper. And in the overview, here we have the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, and on the first page, the first article that we have, in the rare gesture, Iran shuts morality police. Now this particular article guys will see with respect to the social issues that are there, as well as with respect to the developments into the other countries. We are going to take this article. Then Congress decides to elect new CWC. Not important article with respect to the examination. MCD poll in the Delhi. Again, not very much important with respect to the examination. Then guys, moving on in the city section, also the elections and all such kind of things have been given, which is not important for the exam. Then these advertisements etc. are there. So directly we'll be reaching to the editorial page, and in the editorial, the first article, new faces in the Nepal's politics. We'll see this particular article with respect to the exam. Okay, however, though much substance is not there, but still we take it. The poor soil management will erode food security. Will again take this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 3 as well as GS paper number 2. Then a small uptick. Now this particular article is talking about the GST collections. Okay, now guys, it is talking about that GST collections for the month of November increased by 11%, and then basically these comparisons and the datas have been given. Now I have told you multiple number of times that month to month data on the GST collections, quarter to quarter data onto the GDP etc. is not important. By the end of the year, what have been the broad trends that we will take into the economic survey. Then further moving on, an unfamiliar trop. So basically guys, this article is talking about the FIFA World Cup and a very generic kind of an article giving us the basic kind of a details. Then further moving on, from a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle. We'll see this particular article with respect to the credit growth. Okay, then India tops index on the social hostilities relating to religion. We'll see this particular article briefly, what it is talking about. Then China moves in the Indian Ocean. So basically this article talks about the China's interventions, because recently China has held a summit onto the Indian Ocean region. We'll take this article. Why has the Reserve Bank of India introduced the E-rupee? We'll see this CBDC currency that was recently launched. Then what happened during the pre-sale of the Taylor Swift's Eras Tour? Not important article with respect to the examination, no need to go there. Then after that, investigators search for the source of ransomware attack onto the AIMS server. So guys, recently we have seen that the ransomware attack was carried onto the AIMS. The servers got compromised. On that particular article, on that particular detail, just couple of days back we have taken a detailed article also, but everyday details that okay, what investigations are revealing and all such kind of things are not that much important. Then further moving on, in this particular direction, the political articles etc. has been given, not much important. Now this article, traffickers are moving online in the search of victims. This article will see with respect to how the sexual vulnerability of how the children have become sexually vulnerable because of the digitization that had come into the post pandemic era. We'll see this particular article. Then after that guys, moving on, today we have the money wise page. The business page doesn't comes on to the Monday. Now the money wise page contains the investing related advice etc. Put your money where the bulk of your mind is. Not very much important with respect to the examination. Then moving on, and here we have an article, OPEC plus to continue present output despite fresh sanctions on the Russia. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Fine. Herzog becomes first Israel's president to visit Bahrain. Okay, now not important article guys. Visits by the prime minister of some another country to the third country etc. is not that much important. With respect to the international relations, the articles concerning the India's foreign policy, India's bilateral, multilateral engagements etc. are something that we need to see. Then further moving on, Iran executes 4%. Now not important article. European Union to adapt its state aid schemes to counter the US green subsidy package. Now guys, you see this particular thing that the USA is giving the green subsidy package for the investments into the renewable sector, and all the investments are going to the USA. So to counter that, the European Union will also be giving the aid schemes. Then the sports page. Okay, so guys, this is all the overview of the entire newspaper. I hope that you are able to understand the placement of the articles, and this particular overview helps us to understand that which articles are important and which are not. Now, let's take the newspaper overview in detail. So guys, in every class we start with a GS quotation, and this GS quotation is important to complement our answers in the GS paper 1, 2, 3 and 4. So today we'll take the quotation. Today we'll take the quotation from the Benjamin Franklin. So Benjamin Franklin says that the justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. Now see this particular thing, guys, that often people came out to demand the people come out to demand the justice whenever there is any kind of an incident that has happened. Okay, now many number of times we find that the people who are affected by a particular thing, by a particular development, they are coming and they are protesting. That is a good way, that is a way by which the people desire justice. But what about the people who are not affected? Until and unless they will not be coming out, until and unless they will not be raising their voices, the justice into the true sense will not come. So whenever the justice is not being given, everybody needs to come in the protest. Okay, so this is something that we can use in the GS paper number 2 essays as well as GS paper number 4. Now guys, moving to the first article. So the first article that we have taken, it is from the page number 1. First of all, let's read the headline. It says, in the rare gesture, Iran shuts the morality police. Now we'll see this particular article. We'll see this particular article as a case study with respect to the GS paper number 1, social issues. GS paper number 1, social issues. The women movements. The women movements. Okay. Now, guys, before going in this particular article, I would like to give you a little bit of a background. And after understanding this particular background, we'll see that what this particular article is talking about. So basically, if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, we have seen one particular article few days back where what happened, a woman in the Iran, she was detained. Why? Because she had not worn the hijab in a proper manner, it was said by the authorities. So she was detained, and when she was into the detention, she died in that detention. Now the parents of that woman said that she died because of the atrocities that were committed on her, wherever the enforcement agencies have denied that particular kind of a charge. Now, after the death of that young woman, the protest started into the Iran. And here the women, they came out, they openly burned down the hijab, and they were not, and they were very much angry over the state's control, over the state's religious diktats that have been given over the years. And a kind of a social revolution started into the Iran. And as a part of a social revolution, the people into the Iran, they wanted more liberties. They said that they want more freedom, particularly the freedom for the women to dress in the way as they liked. Now that particular thing was going on. Okay, and guys, in this entire scenario, the morality police of the Iran came in the limelight. Now, what is the morality police? So basically, guys, when we talk about the morality police, I had given you the background also here in this in this notes. You can see that. Now, when we talk about the morality police, they are called as the Gashte Irshad or the guidance patrol. Now, this morality police was established after the Iranian Revolution of 1979 that came. Now, guys, before the Iranian Revolution, the Pahlavi dynasty into the Iran was ruling. Now that Pahlavi dynasty got collapsed and the Iranian Revolution happened. After that particular thing, what happened? Basically, there was this Gashte Ershad that was established. Now these were the guidance patrols, and these guidance patrols were established by the Iran's Supreme Council of the Cultural Revolution, which is today headed by the president. Now these particular kind of this Gashte Ershad or these morality policies, they started to patrol in 2006, and they enforced a strict conduct of dressing onto the women. For example, women were required to wear the long clothes. Women cannot wear the shorts, ripped jeans, and the clothes that were deemed immodest. Okay, there was a strict ban on wearing of the tight trousers, ripped jeans, brightly colored outfits, clothes exposing knees. Okay, now why this particular ban was imposed? Because guys, in 1979, for the first time, the hijab rules were introduced, and then these hijab rules were enforced in 1981. And since then, wearing of hijab has been made compulsory. And to see that particular thing, the morality police, it carries the surveillance. Morality police basically detains the people, particularly the women who are not wearing these particular clothings. Now, basically, as the protesters were protesting against such kind of things, what has happened? Now the Iranian government has scrapped the morality police. And after the 2 month of the relentless protest that happened, this morality police have been abandoned. Now, here the Iranian government is providing that both the parliament as well as the judiciary are now looking on this particular fact. They are working that whether the law required actually the women that they have to, whether the basically the Sharia law, where the Sharia law, the religion, is it really requiring that the women had to cover their heads? Is it required or is it not required? If it is not required on that particular line also, the reforms will be carried. But as of now, the morality police has been abolished. Is it clear? So this is something that has happened. Now guys, in this particular direction, I just want to give you a little bit more explanation on this particular dimension. Basically guys, when we talk about the last 25 years, okay, we have seen this particular thing that for the two times the reformist presidents have come in the Iran. For example, Muhammad Khatami came in 1997 and Hassan Rouhani came in 2013. Now see this particular thing that guys, when we talk about the Iran, basically basically there is a supreme authority in the Iran, which is a clerical authority, which is a religious authority, and that supreme authority maintains that all the laws into the Iran are in sync with the religion. Now, whenever this particular thing comes, often the religion in the Iran goes against the reform. Why? Because religion talks about upholding the code of conduct. It talks about upholding certain traditions. But there have been the presidents such as the Muhammad Khatami and the Hossein Rouhani. But whenever they came, they failed to bring some substantial reforms. Neither the reform came in political system nor the reform came in economical system, and still the religious establishments, they are powerful. Because of that particular thing guys, often the protest, violent repressions of those particular protests happened. However, now into the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, first of all, we see this particular thing that the economic crises are going on into the Iran. Economic crises are going on into the Iran, and after that, these particular repressions that were carried on to the women. Fine, we see that now there is a kind of a overarching reforms movement that had started, and they are giving the slogans such as the death to the dictator. And now we can find this particular thing that after the after the Iranian Revolution of 1979, the new regime that got established, this particular regime is aging. This regime is now not something which is required by the people, and the people are severely, they are looking for more line of reforms. And in this particular direction, this article has come. So guys, this is all about this particular thing. I hope that you have understood the article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Why has the Reserve Bank of India introduced an e-rupee? Okay, now we'll take this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3, developments related to the Indian economy. So e-rupee. So guys, what has happened recently? The Reserve Bank of India had started the central bank's digital currency. Okay, now what is this CBDC? CBDC, more popularly is called as the e-rupee. Now we'll understand that what is this e-rupee. We'll understand that how this e-rupee will be different from the cryptocurrencies, and what will be the benefits of this particular e-rupee that has been rolled out. Okay, so basically what has happened, the Reserve Bank of India has launched the digital rupee on a pilot basis. Pilot basis means that on a trial basis for a limited number of purposes, this particular e-rupee has been launched. Now this particular currency will be offered by the public as well as the private banks, and into the few major cities this e-rupee will be provided. Now guys, the first is this particular e-rupee. Now right now guys, you are having, let's say, a currency. Let's say you are having 100 rupee note in your wallet. Now the digital currency will just be the digital counterpart of the physical currency, and this digital currency will be held into the e-wallets, and these e-wallets will be supervised by the Reserve Bank of India. Is it clear or not? So basically, guys, what will happen? This digital rupee or e-rupee will simply be the digital currency that will be issued by the Reserve Bank of India. It will be similar to the physical cash but will be held electronically in a digital wallet, and it will be seen by the Reserve Bank of India. Now, this e-rupee is recognized as the legal tender. Legal tender means that this e-rupee can be given in exchange of goods and services, and being legal tender means that nobody can refuse to accept this particular e-rupee. Now, this it will become the medium of exchange. Okay. However, it is different from the deposits that you hold into the bank account. Why? Because, guys, when you hold money into the bank account, let's say you have put 1000 rupees in your bank account, on that particular money the interest will be generated and that particular interest will be given to you. But if you are holding the e-rupee into the e-wallet, on that particular thing no interest will be generated and you will not get any kind of an advantage. Is it clear or not? So this is something. Now, there will be an option that the physical cash or the physical currency that you are having, that physical currency can be converted into the e-rupee, and the e-rupee can be vice versa converted to the physical currency. That option will always be there. Now, a question comes first of all, that why there is a need for digital rupee, why we need that digital rupee. Now, guys, here the Reserve Bank of India has given one explanation, and I'll explain you that explanation. It has been mentioned here in the notes also. Okay, and then we'll see that whether it is making some sense or not. So basically, Reserve Bank of India, Reserve Bank of India is saying this particular thing, that today people are holding the money in the cryptocurrencies. People are holding the money into the cryptocurrencies. Why? Because the nominal currencies that are there, they are losing their value by the debasement. Okay, the nominal currency that the basically the currencies that are there, they are losing their values by the debasement. Okay. Now, first of all, I'll explain you what do we understand by debasement. Debasement. Okay. See this particular thing. Suppose there is a coin. Now this particular coin has this particular coin's value is the 10 rupees. Now there are two values of this 10 rupee coin. Let's say there is one the intrinsic value and other is the extrinsic value. Intrinsic value and extrinsic value. Extrinsic value is also called as the face value. Intrinsic value means the value of the metal that is there into this particular coin. Now, for example, let's say this is the 10 rupees coin, and in this 10 rupees coin, let's say the metal of which this coin is made, that metal's value is also 10 rupees. Okay, so this is the intrinsic value. Now, the face value is the value that is written on that particular coin. So, the face value is 10 rupees. Okay. Now, what can be the case? The case could be this, that the intrinsic value can be equal to extrinsic value, that is the 10 rupee coin, 10 rupee metal, and onto the face also the 10 rupee is written. Sometimes the intrinsic value can be less, extrinsic value could be high. For example, it can mean that the metal of this particular coin is of 8 rupees, but the face value is of 10 rupees. That possibility can also be there. However, understand this particular thing. Now, in the modern economies, there will never be the case that actually the intrinsic value is more and the extrinsic value is less. Because of that particular thing will be the case, people will just melt that particular coin, will take the metal and will sell that particular metal separately. So never the intrinsic value will be more than the extrinsic value. Intrinsic value can be equal to extrinsic value, or intrinsic value can be less than the extrinsic value. However, always now in the modern economies, we find that this intrinsic value is far more than the extrinsic value that is written. Okay, now there comes the process of debasement. There comes the process of the debasement. What is the debasement? Debasement simply means that you reduce the metal content or you reduce the intrinsic value deliberately. For example, now over the years you have seen that the coin's size is becoming small. The coins are becoming lighter. Why they are becoming lighter and why they are becoming small? Number one, government had reduced the content of metal in those particular coins. So reducing that content is called as the debasement. So over the years, as the debasement happens, basically the intrinsic value goes down. Now, basically, this is something that is happening. Moreover, guys, over the years, what is happening, there is also the inflation that is happening, and inflation is actually eroding the value of the money. Suppose you have 100 rupees. Now 100 rupees 10 year back and 100 rupees today. You know that today the 100 rupees value is not that much compared to what the value was 10 years back. Now understand, in this particular article there is one word that has been used. Okay, I'll highlight this particular word. Fine. Now, the word says that the fiat currencies, it it progressively loses the value over the time due to the debasement by the central bank. Okay. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. Technically, the concept of the debasement will be applicable onto the metallic coins that is happening. Is it clear or not? But today, when we talk about the major currencies that we are having, these major currencies are into the paper form. Okay, so today we use the notes, 5 rupee note, 10 rupee note, 100 rupee, 500 rupee notes. Now when we talk about the paper notes, is it clear or not? Never the intrinsic and extrinsic value of the paper notes will be equal. Okay, so the debasement as a concept will be applicable into the metallic coins where there is some intrinsic and extrinsic value concept. Okay, so here they are using the word debasement, but the debasement technically is something else. So this concept should be clear in your mind. Actually, what this particular article means to say, it is that the value is going down particularly because of the inflation that is coming. So 10 years back you held the 100 rupees, today you held the 100 rupees, that particular money is going down, and the government and the people are now basically holding the cryptocurrencies, the money into the cryptocurrencies for that particular thing. So basically now the government has come, that they have come for the central bank digital currencies. Okay, and this, by this particular thing, people will, rather than putting the money into the cryptocurrencies, will put their money into the CBDC. But how it will solve the problem? It will actually not going to solve the problem, because guys, this CBDC will equivalent to the physical cash that we are having. And as the physical values currency will always be impacted by the inflation, this CBDC's value will also be impacted. So whether it is going to help in that particular direction or not, not very likely. Is it clear or not? Moreover, as the concept of debasement has been used in this particular article, understand this particular thing. Today no one or most of the people don't hold the currency into the coins. Is it clear or not? So that is something that is happening. Okay, so guys, I have deliberately pointed out this particular thing and explained this particular nitty gritty that has been there, so that you can understand this particular concept very clearly. Moreover, the Reserve Bank of India is saying that we are bringing this particular currency so that it is easier and economical to produce this currency. Now you see this thing, that when the notes are being manufactured, when the coins are being manufactured, there is a lot of production cost involved there. There is a soil rate. Soil rate is a rate at which a paper currency will be abandoned. Now you see this thing, while we are using the paper currency, it gets torn, it gets soiled, it gets destroyed. Okay, so there is a particular life longevity of a paper currency. After that it has to be replaced, and it will have a lot of cost. So therefore now this CBDC will be economical to be produced. Why? Because the physical presence is not there. Just by the code we can make that particular money. So therefore it will be more economical, it can be more traceable. So as there is a digital wallet in which that particular currency will be held, and when you will transfer that money to anyone, so there will be the digital trail, and that particular money can be traced. Now it is a kind of a benefit over the physical currency, because in the physical currency there is a lot of anonymity that's there. Now there are also certain risks that are there in this particular arrangement. Now guys, the number one risk is that basically if there will be the digital wallet facility in which the people can hold their money, what will happen? The people will switch to this digital wallet rather than putting the money into the bank accounts. Now see this particular thing. The people keep the money into the bank account for two reasons. Number one, they will get interest on that money, and second, that particular money will be safe. But today we see that the saving interest rates have went really down, and people, rather than keeping that particular money into the bank, will store that particular money directly into the digital wallet. Now this particular thing will impact the banking system. How it will impact the banking system? Understand this particular thing, guys, that today how the banks give a loan. Today how the banks they give actually the loan. So before giving the loans, bank receive the deposit, and on the basis of the deposit banks give further loans. However, if people will not give deposit, bank's capacity to create the loans will always be impacted. And therefore, this particular thing will drop the cash holdings of the bank and will hinder the bank's capacity to create the loan. This is one particular way in which the bankings will be impacted. Then the next thing that's coming in this particular direction is, guys, that let's see, this can help also because India's transition towards the cashless society can happen by this digital currency. Moreover, Moreover, there is also one more issue that's coming is that, guys, today the bank need to hold some minimum cash. Bank need to hold some minimum cash. Okay. But however, if this digital currencies will be made, what can happen? The banks basically the imposition onto the bank that they have to hold some minimum cash, that can also be reduced down. This is something that will come. Now the critics, they have also questioned this digital currencies that basically if they will be economic, if they will be bringing some kind of a change or not. Now the critics have said that by this particular thing, central banks can also supervise the economic activity. Now basically I told you that this digital currency will be held into the digital wallet, and it can be traced that where this particular money is being used, where this particular money can be is being given. So basically into the economic activities also, the Reserve Bank of India will get the power to supervise that particular thing. And certain economic activities it can ban also where the money is flowing. This is one challenge that is coming. Moreover, understand this particular thing. The Reserve Bank of India is saying that we are bringing this particular digital currency and it can be alternative to the cryptocurrencies. But this might not be true. Why? Because when we talk about the cryptocurrencies, guys, the people are investing into the cryptocurrencies because they are appreciating over a period of time. But in digital currency, such kind of a thing will not be there. Digital currency, it will just be the value of the digital currency will just be tagged with the value of the physical currency that we are having. Okay, so cryptocurrencies are an investment also that's are there. Okay, so the people are putting money because of that particular reason. And into the case of digital currency, that incentive might not be there. So this is something that has come here. So there are the mixed kind of responses on in the favor also, against also. That is all, guys, about this article. And now we'll move to the next article. China's moves in the Indian Ocean. Okay, so this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2. Fine. GS paper number 2. Foreign policy and developments in the neighboring countries. Foreign policy and the development into the neighboring countries. Now, what has happened? China recently, just a minute, recently the China has convened the China Indian Ocean Region Forum. Now this China Indian Ocean Region Forum, it is a summit, it is a meet that has been hosted by the China, and here China is asserting its role into the Indian Ocean region. China is saying this particular thing that there is a strategic interest, okay, strategic interest into the Indian Ocean region. Into the Indian Ocean region, China's economic footprint is increasing. So therefore, China wants to make a kind of a coalition of the like-minded countries which can focus on many number of things. For example, they can focus on marine disaster prevention. In this particular direction, in this particular summit, China has also proposed that a body by the name of Marine Disaster Prevention and Mitigation Cooperation Mechanism will be established, because the countries who are facing the marine disasters such as the tsunami, cyclones, etc., they can be provided assistance in that particular direction. Then the China is saying that by this particular, through this China Indian Ocean Region Forum, China will try to enhance the developmental cooperation. It will try to increase the resilience of because of resilience in the times of the shocks and the disasters. China will also try to enhance the cooperation on fisheries, renewable energies, tourism, shipping, and all these particular kind of a manner. Now the China had provided that in this particular meet, fine, the high level representatives and the senior officials from the 19 countries met, which included the representatives from the Australia as well as Maldives. But the Australia and Maldives both have denied that we have not sent any kind of representation to the China. Now, guys, as we talk about the China is already enhancing its footprint into the Indian Ocean region into the past. Multiple times it has been seen. Fine. For example, guys, we have seen this particular thing that first of all, China is enhancing the cooperation with the Sri Lanka. We have seen that recently the China's foreign minister also visited the Sri Lanka, and there the Chinese foreign minister has proposed that basically that the Indian Ocean island countries will be developed. In the Sri Lanka, they are making the infrastructure. Moreover, guys, the Sri Lanka's Hambantota port has already been taken by the China for the 99-year lease. Okay. Moreover, recently we have seen that the China has also started their first overseas military facility, which was started into the Djibouti in the Africa at the Horn of Africa. Moreover, we see that right now into the Indian Ocean region, Chinese military activity, their ships, their tracking vessels. Recently, one of a Chinese satellite tracking vessel docked in the Sri Lanka also. So China over the years is increasing substantially its footprint. It's making the friendships with the Indian Ocean countries, is building up the infrastructure, and now this China Indian Ocean Forum meet that has been held, where China is using the words that we will focus on fishery management, sustainable development, and all such kind of a thing. But actually, China is trying to build the counter to the, for example, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. China is trying to build the counter to the Quad, that is the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. This is something that China is trying to do on the face of it. And these particular things will directly be impacting the Indian interest. Why? Because in the Indian Ocean, India happens to be the nation which has the substantial claims. And as China sees India as the contender to the regional power status, so China is doing all these particular kind of activities. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. And now we'll move to the next article. Okay. Traffickers are moving online in the search of victims. So this particular article we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2. Vulnerable sections. Vulnerable sections. Particularly within the vulnerable sections in the children related issues, we'll see this particular article. So basically, guys, what has happened? It has been provided that over the past 2 years, as in the aftermath of COVID-19, the online education has become the norm. Many children, they are turning online, and as they are using the online websites for education, as they are using the online platforms for the multiple other kind of reasons, the hackers as well as the fraudsters find they are also present on that particular platform, and there these fraudsters, these traffickers are luring the children. Okay, and they are trying to lure them and they are exploiting them. So basically today the traffickers, they are moving to the online classrooms, gaming platforms, matrimonial websites, dating apps, chat apps, and even onto the loan apps. They are looking for the potential victims. Okay, and they are actually attracting the victims from the small towns. Now, guys, it has been provided that already the trafficking is very much rampant into the states of Rajasthan, West Bengal, Jharkhand, and Madhya Pradesh. And the traffickers are specifically luring the teenagers, the childrens from these particular states in the sexual exploitation racket. So basically, to prove this particular thing, what has happened, a study has been conducted by the Space to Grow and the Cyber Peace Foundation. And these two organizations has provided this particular thing that the online abuse, trafficking of women, trafficking of children has increased, okay, into the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. Is it clear? It has been provided that now the respondents who were asked questions with respect to the usage of their internet, 44% of the respondents said that they had started to use the internet after the COVID-19 pandemic started. And here they have given the data also that 98% use the cheaper devices, 51% use it for school and college work, and all these kind of things. Now it has been said that out of the total people who are using the internet, 8% of them are at serious risk. Now, there is a kind of a modus operandi, a way of operation that is being used by these fraudsters as well as these traffickers. What they do, they lure, they attract the people into the relationships, or they will blackmail the users by morphing their photographs. Okay, they'll be blackmailing them. Okay, or they will offer the loan to the people on very attractive rates, and when it will be difficult for them to pay back the loan, then they will be blackmailed. And often when the children and the women are involved, these children and women will be called at some places. Okay, and then they will be pushed into the sexual racket and all such kind of a things. Now in this particular direction, guys, it has been provided that India is leading in such kind of cases. So according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's, cyber tip line report, it has been provided that India accounts for 4.7 million reports of the online abuse of children out of the 29.3 million. So out of 29.3 million children who are being abused, 4.7 million are from India. So India has the highest child exploitation vulnerability in India. So what can be the way out here? So it has been said that only the better awareness amongst the women and children can be the way out. Moreover, the law enforcement agencies, the policing needs to be trained with such kind of an emerging patterns that are there. Moreover, we also need to create the legal deterrence through enhanced detection mechanisms for the online and human interface. Such kind of a platforms are needed to be identified. The people who are operational there, who are going for this kind of an exploitation, etc., they are needed to be identified. Now government is already taking up the digital shakti, where the women are being taught to how to be safe online. So these are certain initiatives that are going on, but guys, still the vulnerabilities stays. So this is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Poor soil management will erode food security. Fine, poor soil management will erode food security. Now this particular article, guys, will see with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, issues of hunger. Issues of hunger, as well as, sorry, GS paper number 3. Sorry, we'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 3. Environment, ecology, and within the environment ecology, in the soil conservation, just a minute, in the soil conservation or the soil management, we are going to take this particular article. Now let's start with the article. So today, guys, as it is 5th December, so in the 5th December, on the 5th of December, we observe the World Soil Day. We observe the World Soil Day. Now this World Soil Day, this particular year's theme is soil where the food begins. And this particular theme shows that how the soil and the food security of the world are connected. Now, the World Soil Day, it is used as a day to raise awareness on the importance of maintaining the healthy soils, find maintaining the healthy ecosystems, and how human well-being is related to the soil well-being. So for this particular thing, the World Soil Day is observed. Now the article is talking about that healthy soils are very much significant, number one, to the healthy planet growth. It is very much significant for the nutrition, as well as if there will be the healthy soils will help in the better water percolation, and if there will be the better water percolation, it will recharge the groundwater. Okay, now it is being provided that the soils, when we talk about the soils, they help to regulate the planet's climate by storing the carbon. So today the soils are the biggest carbon sink. They absorb the carbon and trap the carbon in its seams. Moreover, the soils, they are also very much important for the food system. If there will be the healthy soil is responsible for the healthy food production. In terms of quality as well as in terms of quantity, the food production will be enhanced. Then further, today we are facing the challenge onto the degradation of the soil. And because of the degradation of soils, there are the multiple consequences that are there onto the multiple fronts. Number one, today we see that there is a nutrient loss that is happening into the soil, and because of this particular nutrient loss, the productivity of the soil gets lost. The ability of the soil to sustain the crops, it gets lost. Now, today the nutrition loss is happening particularly because of the pollution. So guys, when we talk about the soil pollution, that soil pollution is eroding the nutrition. Moreover, there are the industrial activities, mining, waste treatment, agriculture, fossil fuel extraction, transport emissions, all of them are leading to the soil degradation. They are leading to the soil degradation. Now, into the soil nutrient loss, particularly there is a soil erosion. So many times because of the run of water takes away the topsoil, there is a nutrient loss that happens. So soil erosion, runoff, leaching, burning of crop residue, it is leading to the soil's nutrient loss. Today, the soil degradation, around 29% of India's total land, okay, around 29% of the land, it has the degraded soil. In this particular capacity, guys, 3.7 million hectares suffer from the nutrient loss into the soil. And nutrient loss is particularly happening because of the excessive use of fertilizers, pesticides, irrigation, excessive irrigation, contaminated wastewater, okay, are also impacting the soil. Now today it has been provided that India needs to conserve the soils, and on to the conservation of soil, India needs to focus on five things immediately. What are the five things on which we need to focus upon? Number one, we need to make the soils chemical free. Number three, we need to save the soil biodiversity. Then we need to enhance the SOM. SOM stands for the soil organic material, soil organic matter. So the organic matter into the soil needs to be enhanced, maintaining the soil moisture and mitigating the soil degradation. So these are the five priorities which India needs to focus. Now already government is running some of the schemes to help on these particular aspects. For example, okay, for example, we have already started the soil health card scheme in 2015, and as per the soil health card schemes, what we are doing, we are assessing the current status of the soil, okay, current status of the soil, and the nutrients safe to that particular soil, the toxicity of that particular soil, what types of crops can be grown into a particular soil. All these particular things are being taken up into the soil health card. After that, government is running the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, and under the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, we are trying to prevent the soil erosion. That farmers are being given the technical assistance, that how they can carry the irrigation in a responsible manner, in such a manner which avoids the soil erosion. We basically regeneration of natural vegetation, rainwater harvesting, recharging of the groundwater table. All these particular things are being focused, which directly be improving the health and the conditions of the soil. Moreover, National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture has also been started, and this National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, it promotes it promotes the traditional indigenous practices such as organic farming, natural farming. It reduces the dependency onto the chemicals, onto the chemical fertilizers, pesticides, etc. Then the Food and Agriculture Organization, that is the FAO, it also takes the multiple activities fine to support the agri-food systems in India. Okay. Then we also find that along with the FAO, the Ministry of Rural Development, it is running multiple programs. For example, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Rural Livelihood Mission. Fine. Now the community resource person under this particular project, they are supporting the on-farm livelihood, and that on-farm livelihood they are supporting by adopting the sustainable and resilient practices. Fine, for the soil management. Then after that, the FAO is working actively within the 8 states, that is the Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Odisha, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, and Punjab. And it at all the places they are focusing that how the sustainable solutions and sustainable soil management can be taken up. Particularly into the Andhra Pradesh, the FAO is also partnering with the Andhra Pradesh government as well as the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, and there they are supporting the farmers for the suitable transition to the agroecological approaches, organic farming. Now the organic farming, which doesn't depends on to using a lot of chemicals, doesn't depends on to the use of lot of fertilizers, automatically it is going to enhance the soil productivity and the soil health. Okay, so right now we need that there should be strong communication channels between the academia, policymakers, farmers, etc., where they can exchange the information that how the soil health is to be preserved. Okay, so for identification, management, restoration of degraded soils, okay, they should be connected with each other. Then greater cooperation and partnerships are needed so that the successful practices, best case studies, knowledges can free flow. Okay, and as a consumer and citizen, we can contribute in protecting the soil by planting more and more trees, because when we'll plant the more and more trees, the topsoil which contains which is very much important, that particular topsoil will be held together and the soil degradation will be reduced. So these are certain things that are to be done. So that is all guys about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. From a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, Indian economy. GS paper number 3, Indian economy. Now, guys, this particular article, guys, we are going to take with respect to that how the sustainable credit growth for the informal sector players can be enhanced. Okay, now let's take this article. So basically, we have seen this particular thing. that there is a big economic impact of the pandemic that had happened onto the informal sector. We find this particular thing that the informal sector always have a particular problem, that is the credit availability to the informal sector is always limited. Okay, now the challenge of raising capital is always there. So formal credit, that is the banks, they don't lend money to the informal sector, micro entrepreneurs. Why? Number one, they don't have the credit history. They don't have the credit history. And because they don't have credit history, the banks are reluctant. Secondly, they many a number of times even don't have the collateral to stake for the loans if they want to take. So they don't have credit history, they don't have collateral. So therefore, the formal institutions are not giving them the money. And in that particular capacity, they are dependent on to the money lenders, and these money lenders on exploitative interest rates, they offer them the money. Now, it has been provided that if they will not be given the capital, they cannot invest into the productive expenditures. If they cannot invest into the productive expenditures, their earnings cannot be enhanced. Okay, and if their earnings cannot be enhanced, always basically they will never be economically viable. Okay, so therefore therefore there is a very good point that we need to provide them accessibility to the affordable credit. And in this particular direction, there is the concept of returnable grant that comes. Now, what is this returnable grant? Now, guys, understand that first of all, there is the concept started, that is the Revive initiative by the Samhita Social Ventures and Collective Good. Now, what is this returnable grant? In returnable grant, basically the micro entrepreneurs, the people working in informal sector, they will receive a kind of a grant, typically around 10,000 rupees. Now, when we talk about the grant means a money that you don't have to pay back. But these grants that will be given to the people, it will be returnable. Means that if they want, they can return that particular grant so that the other people can take the help of that particular grant. So understand, though it is grant, but it is returnable grant. If you have the capacity, you can return that particular grant. Either it can be returned into the EMIs or it can be returned over a pre-agreed time. Now, beneficiaries, while they are being given money, they are told that if they give that particular money back, then this particular money can help others also. And it has been found that a large number of people who had taken this money, they have actually returned that particular money back. So returnable grants actually works. It has been provided that this returnable grant program started in 2020, and right till now it has reached more than 1 lakh beneficiaries, and large number of beneficiaries have returned that particular grant also. Now, the Samita Foundation is doing the rigorous evaluation. It is taking up the baseline, midline data and is identifying the suitable recipients. Now, it has been provided that actually this returnable grant can be a win-win solution. Number one, it is directly helping the micro entrepreneurs and the people in the informal sector for the credit. Second thing is that basically when the people are returning that particular money, it will start a credit history for these particular people. Now the banks always see that whether a person who is taking the money, his credit worthiness is there or not. Okay, so if the person has taken the money and it returned back, so basically that particular person's credit worthiness can be proven by such kind of a behaviors. Okay, and this returnable grant could create a graduation pathway to the formal credit for informal sector workers and entrepreneurs. On the basis of this particular data, they can avail the loan. So repayment data from the RG, that is a returnable grant, can be used for creating a pre-credit score, and this particular pre-credit score can be considered by the banks when they are giving the money. Moreover, it has been provided that these particular loans which the banks will provide, they could be supported by the credit guarantees, interest subvention, philanthropic funding. Let's say for example the Tata should be behind these particular loans, that the Tata provides the support that okay, if these people will not be able to pay back, then the Tata will be coming in and as a part of the philanthropy they will pay up that particular thing. So by these particular things, the informal sector's credit availability can be enhanced. That is all about this particular article, and a very fresh perspective has been given, and I'll say that it is a very good article. You can use such kind of a suggestions. Now moving to the next article. New faces in Nepal's politics, a phase of change. Okay, now guys, see this particular thing. Recently, that is on to the November 20, the elections in the Nepal has been held. Okay, and as the elections into the Nepal has been held, so this particular article is talking about that particular thing only. Now the article is containing a lot of references about the internal politics of Nepal, so therefore the article is not containing too much of substance. But guys, understand this particular thing, that there are few basic points that I had provided you here. You can read that. Number one, first of all, basically guys, when we talk about the recent 2022 elections, okay, fine, this is the second election since the promulgation of the Nepal's constitution in 2015. And recently the first government into the Nepal came to its had completed its tenure, and the elections have now been announced. Basically guys, it has been provided that now in this particular elections, okay, the Sher Bahadur Debua, who was the prime minister, fine, his Nepali Congress and his alliance is leading, and actually the Debua's government is more favorable to the government of India. When we talk about guys the Indian perspective, the Debua led government, which is right now leading, it is the best case scenario. In the past we have seen that when the former prime minister KP Oli was the prime minister into the Nepal, then under the KP Oli we have seen that India Nepal relations were not in very good direction. Okay, after succeeding Oli, when the Debua became the prime minister, he visited India and married the tour to Varanasi, Kashi Vishwanath temple, and the relationship between the India and Nepal kick started. Is it clear or not? Now we guys, if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, we have seen that onto the Lipu Lake, fine, there was a controversy. Now the Kalapani, Lipua Lake, okay, Limpiadhura, these are certain territories which are disputed between the India and Nepal. In 2020, Nepal issued new map. After that, there were the controversies that got started. Is it clear or not? But the Debua government has been sensitive to the India's concerns. So basically, if the Debua government is powerful into, if the Debua led government comes into the Nepal and it is powerful, then it is good for the India-Nepal relations. We have seen this particular thing, that the former prime minister, that is the KP Oli, was pro-China, okay, was pro-China, and because of that particular thing, the India-Nepal relations got impacted also. So basically guys, now the new government into the Nepal will be very much instrumental in deciding that whether the India-Nepal relations will be good or not. Now these are certain references that I have taken from the other places as well, but into this article which has come, much of academic substance is not there. It is majorly talking about the internal politics, internal election patterns, etc. Is it clear or not? So that is all guys about this particular article. Now moving to the next article. Sir, please share PDF in Telegram. Dear, PDF is already shared into the Telegram. You guys, you just please go and check the Telegram. The PDF has been shared there. Clear? Now, moving to the next article. India tops index on the social hostilities relating to religion. Now, this particular article, guys, will see with respect to the GS paper number, uh, GS paper number 1 and GS paper number 2. Social indicators. Social indicators. Okay. Now, basically, guys, what has happened recently? A survey has been carried. A report has been released, and the name of the report is How COVID-19 Restriction Affected Religious Groups Around the World in 2020. Now, this particular report has been compiled by the Pew Research Center. Okay, and in this particular report, India has been ranked first on the Social Hostilities Index. Now, what is the Social Hostilities Index? Guys, just a small case study has been given in this particular article. Now, when we talk about this particular case study, what is this case study? You guys might be knowing this particular case. When the pandemic started, a Tablighi Jamaat, an Islamic organization came into the news. Why? Because there in the Nizamuddin, in one of the center of the Tablighi Jamaat, there were many people who were found inside, that they were in this Tablighi Jamaat center, and many of them were tested positive of the COVID-19. And because of that particular thing, this Tablighi Jamaat case, it was referred to as the Nizamuddin cluster. And the people who were found into that Tablighi Jamaat center, they were said that they are deliberately importing the COVID-19 in India, and deliberately there was a conspiracy to spread the COVID-19 in India. So that particular controversy started. However, after that, we have seen that many other religious organizations also held, other religious festivals also held, but that particular thing did not came. So basically, it has been said that at times selectively certain religions are being challenged. Who says this? Article says this thing. Clear. So therefore it has been said that actually during the COVID-19, certain religious groups, they were deliberately they were cherry picked. And there is a social hostilities index that has been created by the Pew Research Center. Now this particular index, it includes the religion related armed conflicts, terrorism, mob or sectarian violence, harassment over the attire for religious reasons, and all other forms of violence, abuse, etc. And this social hostility index, it uses the 13 indicators such as the religious violence, violence over the attires, etc. And on that particular thing, fine, it has been said that India had ranked India basically in this particular thing. Just a minute. Just a minute. Yes. So it has been said that in this particular social hostilities index, social hostilities index, India has been ranked first. India has been ranked first. Now, India ranking first means that India's rank is poor. High, basically, if the first rank means, it means that the social hostilities in India are very much high. This social hostility indicator has used 13 indicators. Okay, this was a 13th edition. It got started in 2007, and India's first rank means that India is hostile country for the religious minorities. This is being said by this particular survey. Now it has been said that also onto the government restriction index, India has ranked at 33 out of 198 countries, which measures the government laws, policies, and actions to restrict certain religious beliefs and religious practices. Higher the rank, higher the restriction. Okay, so into the government restriction index, there are the 20 measures of the restrictions. Okay, find the ban on particular faiths, prohibition of conversions, limit preaching or giving preferential treatment on the basis of religion. So these are certain factors that have been there. So guys, we see this particular thing that this is the ranking for the SHI indicator. India's rank is first, which is not good. Okay, so this is guys has been released. Now we'll be moving to the next article. OPEC Plus to continue present output despite fresh sanctions on Russia. Now, guys, when we talk about the OPEC Plus or OPEC, OPEC stands for Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. Now, the OPEC, it is the coalition of 13 countries. Now, the name of the 13 countries which are the members of the OPEC has been given in this particular table here. Apart from the OPEC, there is also the OPEC Plus, which includes the countries, 13 countries that has been mentioned above, as well as it will include the Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Brunei, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mexico, Oman, Philippines, Russia, South Sudan, and Sudan. So we have the OPEC and OPEC Plus. Now, OPEC and OPEC Plus, it acts as a cartel. It acts, just a minute. It acts as a cartel. Now, cartel is a grouping of certain organizations, or it is a grouping of certain entities. It can also be the countries where they try to control the economic production of particular commodity so that price can be kept at a particular level. So basically, guys, the OPEC countries, these are the countries which produce the maximum oil. Now, basically, they cooperate with each other. They cooperate with each other to determine the supply of the oil, to determine the supply of the crude oil. Now you see this particular thing that when we talk about the price is the factor of the demand and supply. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that the demand is not in hand of the OPEC countries, but the supply is in their hands. So basically, on the basis of the demand, they will basically they will be coming out with a particular supply so that a particular price can always be maintained. If there will be an excessive supply, what and the demand is the same or the demand is less, then the price will come down. Okay, so now their economies, these OPEC countries economies, are dependent onto the oil only, so they need to maintain that particular price of the oil at which they can achieve the maximum benefits. So they basically artificially create the pricing of the oil, the OPEC countries. Now basically, guys, one particular issue I want to tell you in this particular direction. Now, you know this particular thing that in 2020, when the COVID-19 got started, there were the lockdowns that were imposed around the world countries. And because of that particular lockdown, the oil consumption, oil demand, okay, the petrol, diesel demand, it came down. But at the same time, the supply was the same, which was going before the pandemic. And as the supply is high and the demand came down, what happened? The price of the oil became very much less. And at that point of a time, Basically, the countries were virtually paying that you take our loan, you take our oil, don't pay us the money. Now, into the aftermath of the COVID-19, what happened? The OPEC plus countries, OPEC countries, OPEC plus countries, they came together and they signed a production cut agreement, and in that production cut agreement, they said that we will reduce the production, will reduce the supply, so that the prices again recovers. Okay, that is something that they started. Now, guys, that production cut were to be carried throughout the pandemic. But now what has happened, we have seen that in the world, pandemic recovery had started. Already the demand for the oil and petroleum, it is increasing. Secondly, Russia-Ukraine crisis is also going on. Now, when we talk about Russia, guys, Russia is the major exporter of the crude oil. But because of the sanctions onto the Russia's crude oil shipments are not coming. So basically, there is a lot of demand and a lot of short supply of the crude oil, and because of that, the crude oil prices are going up. Now, recently, what has happened? The oil producing countries led by Saudi Arabia, OPEC plus, they have agreed to maintain their current output level in a climate of uncertainty. So basically, guys, what had happened? What had happened? In the 2020, they agreed that there will be the production cut of 2 million barrels per day. Fine. Now, there was a production cut which was started into the October in 2020. Sorry. Now, over the times they are meeting. Recently, they have met in the October also, and in the October they have provided that this production cut will continue. And now, what is happening? The same stance is there. Okay. Now, on the Russia, new set of sanctions are being imposed onto the Russian oil. So basically, into the international market, the supply will go further down because onto the Russia the sanctions are being imposed. The demand is going up. So basically, despite of the sanction onto the Russia, despite of the demand is increasing, the OPEC plus will continue the present output, which is a reduced output. This is something that has come out of this particular article. Is it clear or not? So guys, we need to understand this particular background first of all to make sense of this particular article. So that is all about it. And now, guys, we'll take the mains practice question for today. The mains practice question says that the soil degradation threatens the agricultural productivity, in situ biodiversity, conservation, water quality, socio-economic well-being of land-dependent communities. Analyze and suggest the remedial measures. Okay, so this will be a 10 marker question. This will be a 10 marker question for the GS paper number 3. So guys, that is all about it. I hope, guys, that you have understood this particular article, and I hope that you have liked the newspaper analysis. So guys, that is all about today. Now we'll be meeting now we'll be meeting. Till then, please take care of yourselves. And guys, if you have liked the initiative, please do hit the like button. Okay, please do that, because that is very important to boost our motivation, so that we can continue this particular initiative. So guys, your support is very crucial to the initiative. Thank you so much.